Welcome to the Books Bible Study, where we are going through the entire Bible, Genesis to Revelation. Today's chapter comes out of Genesis chapter 26, verse 1. There was a famine in the land, besides the first famine that was in the days of Abraham. And Isaac went to Abimelech, king of the Philistines, in Gerar. So this is another king, Abimelech, that is most likely a descendant of the same Abimelech that Abraham encountered the second time. Verse 2. Then the Lord appeared to him and said, Do not go down to Egypt. Live in the land of which I shall tell you. So, if there is a famine wherever you are, you go where God instructs you to go, because he is our source. So the last chapter we saw that Esau sold his birthright because he was hungry. So we are not going to be ones that give up our position, our inheritance, right? Just because of an immediate threat. We're only going to go where God instructs us to go. Verse 3, dwell in this land. This is God speaking to Isaac. He says, dwell in this land, and I will be with you and bless you. For to you and your descendants I give all these lands, and I will perform the oath which I swore to Abraham your father. Verse 4. And I will make your descendants multiply as the stars of heaven. I will give to your descendants all these lands, and in your seed all the nations of the earth shall be blessed. Verse 5. Because Abraham obeyed my voice and kept my charge, my commandments, my statutes, and my laws. So, remember, your choices matter. Isaac was blessed because of the covenant that his father Abraham kept with God. Verse 6. So Isaac dwelt in Gerar. Verse 7. And the men of the place asked about his wife, and he said, She is my sister. For he was afraid to say, She's my wife, because he thought, lest the men of the place kill me for Rebekah, because she is beautiful to behold. So Isaac wasn't even born when this happened with his dad, Abraham, and his mother, Sarah, right? So how did this same thing pass down to the son? Verse 8. Now it came to pass, when he had been there a long time, that Abimelech, king of the Philistines, looked through a window and saw, and there was Isaac showing endearment to Rebekah, his wife. Verse 9. Then Abimelech called Isaac and said, Quite obviously, she is your wife. So how could you say she is your sister? Isaac said to him, Because I said, lest I die on account of her, which is the same thing his dad said. Okay. Verse 10. And Abimelech said, What is this you have done to us? One of the people might soon have lain with your wife, and you would have brought guilt on us. Again, we're seeing that even the very desiring of someone else's wife has a consequence. It caused a plague in Pharaoh's house, and it caused barrenness in Abimelech's house. And they didn't even touch Sarah, right? So Abraham had to pray to release this curse just because they thought she was so beautiful. But before they could do anything, because she had to be preserved, right? We know that. Before they could do anything to her, Abraham was able to pray and release that curse from them. Verse 11. So Abimelech charged all his people, saying, He who touches this man or his wife shall surely be put to death. Verse 12. Then Isaac sowed in that land and reaped in the same year 100-fold, and the Lord blessed him. So he reaped 100 times what he had sowed, even in a famine. Okay? Keep that in mind. If you go where God tells you to go, you will reap, even in a famine. Verse 13. The man began to prosper and continue prospering until he became very prosperous. Verse 14. For he had possessions of flocks and possessions of herds and a great number of servants. So the Philistines envied him. So again, remember that the Philistines are the descendants of Ham, Noah's son. Okay? Verse 15. Now the Philistines had stopped up all the wells which his father's servants had dug in the days of Abraham his father, and they filled them with earth, because the wells mean pretty much prosperity, because your animals can eat, your people can eat, right? Verse 16. And Abimelech said to Isaac, "Go away from us, for you are much mightier than we." Verse 17, then Isaac departed from there and pitched his tent in the valley of Gerar and dwelt there. Verse 18, and Isaac dug again the wells of water which they had dug in the days of Abraham his father, for the Philistines had stopped them up after the death of Abraham. He called them by the names which his father had called them. And so do you remember in chapter 21, Abimelech made that covenant with Abraham, right? He told Abraham, I know God is with you, right? And he made Abraham swear to him by God that he would not deal falsely with him or his descendants, right? Well, it appears that Abimelech's descendants did not keep up their end of that oath, right? Verse 19. Also, Isaac's servants dug in the valley and found a well of running water there. Verse 20. But the herdsmen of Gerar quarreled with Isaac's herdsmen, saying, "The water is ours." So he called the name of the well Esek, because they quarreled with him. So God had promised this land to the seed of Abraham, right? And each well was that physical representation of that promise. A well in those days, that was a sign of survival and control by whoever acquired them, right? Verse 21. Then they dug another well. This is talking about Isaac. And they quarreled over that one also. So he called its name Sitnah. Verse 22. And he moved from there and dug another well. And they did not quarrel over it. So he called its name Rehoboth, because he said, "For now the Lord has made room for us, and we shall be fruitful in the land." Verse 23. Then he went up from there to Beersheba. Verse 24. And the Lord appeared to him the same night and said, "I am the God of your father Abraham. Do not fear, for I am with you. I will bless you and multiply your descendants for my servant Abraham's sake." So God reaffirms once again the covenant he made with Abraham. He now reaffirms this again with Isaac, right? Verse 25. So he built an altar there and called on the name of the Lord. And he pitched his tent there. And there Isaac's servants dug a well. Verse 26. Then Abimelech came to him from Gerar with Achuzeth, one of his friends, and Pico, the commander of his army. Verse 27. And Isaac said to them, "Why have you come to me, since you hate me and have sent me away from you?" Verse 28. But they said, "We have certainly seen," remember, Isaac is very prosperous in spite of all of this, right? They said, "We have certainly seen that the Lord is with you." So we said, "Let there now be an oath between us, between you and us, and let us make a covenant with you." Verse 29, "That you will do us no harm, since we have not touched you, and since we have done nothing to you but good and have sent you away in peace. You are now the blessed of the Lord." Verse 30, so he made them a feast, and they ate and drank. Verse 31, then they arose early in the morning and swore an oath with one another, and Isaac sent them away, and they departed from him in peace. So now this oath is reestablished between Isaac and this descendant of Abimelech, which they're thinking that Abimelech is not may not be an actual name, but a title, because the commander of his army also has the same name as the commander of the Abimelech and Abraham story name, which is Pico, right? So they're thinking that these names represent like the titles versus an actual name, or it could be just the family name that they are continuing. So verse 32, it came to pass the same day that Isaac's servants came and told him about the well which they had dug, and said to him, "We have found water." Verse 33, so he called it Sheba. Therefore the name of the city is Beersheba to this day. And to this day, Beersheba is in southern Israel, although they spell it instead of Sheba, it's Sheva, but it is there to this day in southern Israel. Verse 34, when Esau was 40 years old, He took wives, Judith, the daughter of Beeri, the Hittite, and Basemet, the daughter of Elon, the Hittite. 35. And they were a grief of mine to Isaac and Rebekah. So now Abraham's bloodline is mixed with the Canaanites, right? Remember, the Hittites are descendants of Ham, okay? And that's something Abraham was adamant about, right? That his sons would not take daughters from that land, that he would go get the wife from his family's house, but then bring her back to the land that God had promised them. So that was a grief to Isaac and Rebekah because they were to keep up whatever God had commanded Abraham to do. And so they knew, I'm sure, being in the plain, that the Canaanites were wicked. They did not fear God. They wanted the blessings of God, right? So they would make these oaths with those that openly, publicly worship God. But they were not of that same lineage, right? And so we're going to continue to Genesis chapter 27, and let's see what happens next. God bless.